Hey, fancy listeners. Franchesca Hampton here, and I am honored that you took time to tune in once again. And I'm committed to sharing content that will make you glad you did. So, welcome to the Fancy Thoughts Podcast, a weekly podcast designed to give you perspective, insight, and encouragement to release the greatness inside of you. I want you to live fancy life, where you are fostering achievement, never compromising you, because someone is waiting for you. Before we get into this week's fancy thought, let's remind ourselves what we talked about last time. In our last episode, we talked about not being afraid of the unknown. We reminded ourselves to not allow fear of the unknown to hold us back or allow us to pause so much that we never move forward. We reminded ourselves that whether it be something that we don't know, have never discovered, did not recognize, or even the thing that is greater than we imagined, not allowing those things to stop us from accomplishing and releasing the greatness on the inside of us. Remember, we were placed and positioned right where we are so that we may fulfill the assignment that we have been given because we have been equipped with what's necessary to get it done. As always, because someone is waiting for you. As we get into this week's episode, you may be wondering what happened last week. I definitely want to encourage you to make sure you're following, subscribing, and liking all of my media platforms. You can definitely find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. My handle is simply Franchesca Hampton _. There you can stay informed with everything that's going on with Franchesca Hampton. Last week, I had the opportunity to share a message that I ministered called The Promises of God Are True, period. And it was a great opportunity to remind ourselves that as we're going forward and releasing greatness, there are promises that were made. There were things that have been said about you. You have a right and a responsibility to expect them to come to pass. So if you haven't had a chance to take a listen, I encourage you to pause this episode, check out either of those platforms I mentioned, and listen to that message. The promises of God are true, period. And now let's get into this specific episode, episode 4. I was listening to a message a few weeks ago, and the person said something that has stuck with me since the moment I heard it. And I truly believe, once again, that this is something that we all need to take into consideration that's going to help us to release greatness, to walk in the fullness of what we have been called, assigned, and purposed to do. What he actually said was, the story that you tell yourself is the life that you will live. Again, the story that you tell yourself is the life that you will live. And so today, the title of our episode 4, is What's Your Story? Again, what's your story? It was really important and actually interesting to me when I began to think about that statement that he made. The story that you tell yourself is the life that you'll live. And I thought about, when we tell stories, when we tell a narrative, when we tell a depiction of something, and we go through precise detail about how we saw it come to pass, how we saw it happening, how we saw it actually coming about. And whether that story be about a tale of our past, be about a situation that we experienced or went through, however it is, we tell the story from our perspective and viewpoint. And in that moment, that viewpoint, that perspective is true. It is true to us. Not that the things that are in that story are good or bad, but our perception of how those things happened, how those things came about, is true to us. And so when we then apply that to ourselves and we think about what are we saying about ourselves? What are we saying about our own future? What are we saying about our greatness? What are we saying about our purpose? What are we saying about the things that we want to accomplish? It's important to pay attention to the story, the narrative, the depiction and perspective that we create, because ultimately that's exactly what we're going to live out. You've heard it said that there's power in your words. And we've often talked about it in previous episodes that you have to be mindful of what you say about yourself, that sometimes our worst enemy is ourselves. Many times we've talked ourselves out of success. We've talked ourselves out of victory simply by downing ourselves, speaking negatively about ourselves, doubting ourselves in our own words. In one statement and in one conversation, we speak about the great things that we're going to do or the great things that we feel we can accomplish. And yet in our own story or in our own conversation with ourselves, we say negative things like, I have no idea how I'm gonna get that done. I'm not qualified. There's no way I can finish this. I don't know why anyone would want to hear what I have to say. I'm not a good this. I'm not a good that. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And at times we even think that maybe we're just telling, a perspective at that time. The problem is there's no corresponding positivity to end out that statement. For example, perhaps you're not the best speaker. Perhaps you sometimes get very nervous and you begin to clam up and pull back. Some people say, I'm just shy. I clam up and I don't want to be in front of people. But I venture to say that many of our purposes, assignments, and callings require us to talk to somebody at some given time. We have to find a way to be able to hone in on those things that we do well and actually be able to use those to perfect those things that we don't do so well. And the first way we do that is by using our own words that we say about ourselves to depict the story or the vision or the perspective that we have of ourselves. So if you're not the best at speaking, instead of saying, I'm just not good at that, or instead of only saying, I'm just not really good at speaking in front of other people, but I'm working on it. I may not be a very good orator, but I am learning to hone my oration skills. I'm learning to hone my ability to speak in front of others. I'm learning to be better at it. I am getting better at it. I will be better at it. I'm not trying to deny the fact that there are areas in our lives that we may not have perfected just yet. And there's no need to pretend or speak as though things aren't true. However, we also have to speak the truth of what we are expecting to happen in the end and not let our negativity be the whole of our story. To bring this home, let's look at, of course, a definition. The definition of the word story. In our favorite dictionary, the Collins Dictionary, one of the definitions that stood out to me is this: the pertinent facts or circumstances relating to a particular person, situation, etc., especially such facts not widely known or previously revealed. That's a pretty long definition, so let me say it again. The pertinent facts or circumstances relating to a particular person, situation, etc., especially such facts not widely known or previously revealed. The reason this definition stood out to me because it really talks about the pertinent facts, the important thing. What are the things that need to be known? What are the things that need to be outlined or highlighted in regards to a particular person, that person being you, or a particular situation, a situation you're in or will be in? The reason that this is important in understanding the definition of story is, again, going back to the whole statement. The story that you tell yourself is the life that you will live. So what are the pertinent facts that you're saying about yourself? What are the pertinent situations or circumstances that you are relating to yourself that draw or create the story of your life? If you have decided that you're going to be a business owner, if you believe that you've been called to be a successful anything, then what is the story that you're telling yourself about how you're going to get there and where you intend to end up? Not just the story that you've written on your vision board, not just the one that you may project to others. What is the story you're telling yourself? What is it that you're saying in those midnight hours? What is it that you're saying about yourself when you make those mistakes? What is it that you're saying about yourself when you royally mess up? What is it that you're saying about yourself when you royally fail? We talked about it before that it's okay to go ahead and fail. And as a matter of fact, we encourage failure because failure is just a part of the journey to success. But what do you say in those moments when you fail? What are you saying about yourself? What's your story? The reason that this is so important is because the story that matters the most is yours. The narrative that you're going to follow most closely is yours. You can have people that will speak greatness into your life over and over and over again. You can have situations that come up that continue to confirm how awesome you are, how impactful you are, how influential you are. But if you don't believe it, you put a cap on your impact. You put a cap on your ability to succeed because the story that matters the most is yours. There's a very important realization that we have to have, and it is this truth. You will never exceed your own vision of yourself. You will never move beyond, move past, move forward beyond your vision of yourself. If you don't see yourself as great, if you can't speak greatness about yourself, if you don't see yourself overcoming your challenges and pushing past your failures, if you don't see that you of yourself, not your accomplishments, not the great wonders that you may do in the future, if you can't see that you've already been created with greatness, you already have things on the inside of you that just as you are can impact and change lives. If you can't see that, you will never be able to exceed or express or release the fullness of your greatness. You will never exceed your own vision of yourself. So today I'm encouraging you. Today I'm imploring you to review, and if possible, or if necessary, to reframe your story. Let's start declaring what we know and what we believe, or even what we want to happen. Let's start declaring that we are well able, fully capable, and properly equipped to accomplish everything that we were purposed, designed, and created for. Let's start declaring that we will walk into the fullness of the assignment that we have been given. Let's start saying that we are world-renowned authors, that we are successful business owners, that we are excellent mothers and fathers, that we are what it is that we have been declared to be. Beyond our failures and our mistakes, beyond our mishaps and our weaknesses, beyond all of the negative things that might come against us. Again, if we're not afraid of the unknown, like we talked about last week, then we don't get stuck in thinking about or declaring and speaking about all the things that may not be revealed yet, understood yet, or even experienced yet. There is greatness on the inside of you. You need to see it first. How do I do that? I encourage you to start writing it out. Instead of writing out what you want to do, write out what you see yourself doing or what you want to see yourself doing. Even if it seems like such a far-fetched idea right now, write it out. Write it out with I will be, or even better yet, I am. As my book is getting ready to be released, I am a worldwide renowned author. My book hasn't even been released yet, but I am, because it's already been decided. It's already been put in place. The reason I was given this book is because there is an audience that's waiting to read it. The reason that you've been given the desire and the passion that you have on the inside of you is because somebody else is already looking for it. Somebody already needs it. So therefore, once you release it and you walk into the confidence that you can do it and that you have been purposed and positioned and designed for it, then you will be able to release it and someone else will be able to receive it. What's your story? What are you going to say about yourself going forward? I am. I will be, because I've already been created that way. And ultimately, I am convinced, I am persuaded, I am assured that someone is waiting for me. Because whether you believe it or not, I guarantee someone is waiting for you. Thank you for joining us for the Fancy Thoughts podcast. I'm Franchesca Hampton, and I look forward to you tuning in again next week. And remember, you are well able, fully capable, and properly equipped to accomplish everything you were created for. So go and make this week a great one.